computer.
We're back. It's Joy and Kat. Hi, you guys. So, just as a quick recap, cats are brilliant. Go ahead, say your credentials.
I'm a pediatric and prenatal functional medicine chiropractor,
Yeah,
practicing for 25 years.
yeah. And I'm an integrative health coach. I've been an integrative health coach seeing clients talking about nutrition, but I also feel like, and this is how you and I kind of found each other and like why we're even here, is for me, it's not so much even what I learned in nutrition school. It was my own life experience. And today we wanted to talk about MTHFR and some of the stuff and the conversations that we see with that. But I went to you before anyone was talking about it. I want to say it was in 2012. And I had a child who was young. I think she was 7 or 8, and had anxiety. And we had tried all the things and we couldn't figure it out. And a friend of mine was like, I think I know what the problem is. And she literally took my credit card and signed me up for 23andMe. And she was like, this is, and it came back like Chinese. And I was like, I don't know what this means. Kat, hi, I just met you, but what does this mean? I think I'd known you like a year.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, oh, I'm just learning about this through my whatever courses. And we like sat down and you explained it to me. And it's just been so fun to see that now that's kind of a hot topic and everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like seems like the translational gap in medicine anyway, like it's years later that people
Yep.
start to catch on. Yeah, I have evolved even in the MTHFR conversation. I have it, you have it. We have varying degrees of SNP or detoxification reduction genetically. That doesn't necessarily mean actually, and that's important. I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, but so I think the important thing, like I want to validate like people that are paying attention to this now. I have really cleaned things up since then, like I cleared out all the environmental toxins from my house. We sleep on an organic mattress. I have a whole house air filter, water filter. I don't use plastic. We switched to glass. I changed out like literally like I started paying attention to environmental toxins.
Yes.
I started addressing oxidative stress. We don't eat orange juice. Like I make all my food from scratch. I avoid folic acid. Like I did all the things. Like I am the person when you talk about like not the realistic person like you were like mostly holistic mama. I feel like I was not mostly for a long time. I made myself crazy trying to be perfect and the
And that's a
stress
problem
that it,
too, right?
that correct. Well, it's kind of interesting like how we ended up becoming business partners because I had a friend who I really respected. She was a fellow nutrition person and she was perfect with all the food and all of the things.
I remember
And
this.
she died at 39 of uterine cancer. And in her very last blog post, she talked about how we're really putting way too much emphasis in the wrong places. And so that's
Yes,
kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I know like
totally.
you are the expert. So can you kind of talk about, you know, do we really need to be completely avoiding folic acid?
That's a great, great question. And like I said before, I have gone up and down in my opinions on a lot of things. But one of the things that I have to say, I have to give credit to a mentor of mine in the space of like biomed and chiropractic. And she always taught us that, our genetics are kind of like the preloaded gun, our genetics are like the hardware. But our lifestyle and our total toxic load is the software. And so our expression is a combination of the hardware and the software. So like you can't change your genetics, you can change your epigenetics, your expression. And I thought, if you have MTHFR, that means categorically across the board, you have to have folate. And that's not the case either. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying I can't tell you you should. And that being important because you can't treat a gene. You can't just take a supplement to treat a gene. Likewise, just because there's folic acid in something doesn't mean it's realistic to completely avoid every aspect of it in every iteration that it exists. I think if you're taking a supplement like a prenatal and you have MTHFR, I think anybody, honestly, should be taking the bioavailable form in a supplement. But really, if you ask crunchier people than me, which there are some, that how they eat is the most important thing. Like there were decades and centuries without prenatal vitamins, but we didn't have all the enriched crap and toxic
Well,
load that we have
and
now.
And I feel like that's the whole point. Like I don't take folate. And I actually at one point, I think you had me give some of my kids, I have 3 kids, and methylfolate makes them go nuts. Like two
Yeah.
of them can't handle it at all. It makes them crazy people.
Yes.
Um, but I don't take folate at all.
Nope.
I eat kale, I eat leafy greens, which is where we're supposed to be getting it from.
Yes. Yes. And then there's fiber with it and other things. And that's just the way it is. Like eat real food, not too much, mostly plants, right? And I'm not anti-meat or anything like that. It's just we're totally missing the point. And yeah, so I don't take folate either, and I'm MTHFR as well. We were talking about this before that you're like compound heterozygous. You're like one of the most significant SNPs, and you're not sitting down to folate. Did that maybe contribute to some of the complications or maybe some of the resistance your body has to the rapid changes when you start something? Yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm sure that that makes it maybe a little bit harder for you. But if you weren't doing the lifestyle and just popping folate, I promise you, you would not feel this good.
And I think that's the thing is I do think that because of my genetics, I work a little harder. I
Mhm.
make a point to make sure that I'm detoxing, like that my detox pathways are open. I think I am generally a little bit more sensitive to things than other people. Um, and I just started, let's talk about this. Like I just started taking something that has folic acid in it.
Same.
Actually, can we talk about why? Like, because I think that's really, really important.
Why we're taking it? Why you're
For
taking
me,
it?
yeah, like
You
for
tell
me,
me.
I am, so I just got this fancy scale, right? That tells me my metabolic age. And I also started reading Dr. Casey Means Good Energy,
So good.
right? And I think that people really need to understand that our metabolic health is hands down one of the determinants, is that a word?
Yeah.
Of whether we're going to have disease or not later in life. Do you
That's
think that's accurate?
a thousand percent. A
Okay.
thousand percent.
And
It's
so
cellular health and metabolic health.
Yep. And so even though I do all of the things, this
Mhm.
fancy scale tells me that my metabolic health is 50, I'm age 57. That's a big problem, even though I'm 52.
Oh,
Okay. Like I have work to do, even though I wasn't consuming any folic acid, even though I eat the leafy greens and detox and have the filters and do all of the things.
mhm.
I really have to get a grip on my metabolic health. My
And the
blood
cost of that is greater than a little bit of
a
folic acid.
1000%. And watching, so I wear a continuous glucose monitor and watching my blood sugar drop by 30, 40 points almost instantly, to
Mhm.
me, hands down, like the benefits of taking this product, even though it has a little bit of folic acid, I
Mhm.
think really outweighs me not taking it to avoid the folic acid.
Exactly. And again, I know that's a personal decision for everybody. As many people, as they start to learn more and more about health, I think there's definitely the bandwagon mentality of, and I see it and I recognize it, and everybody's on a different journey and path. And so if it's not for you, it's not for you. Like, if you have an allergy to something, fine. But an ingredient that isn't the most bioavailable isn't a deal breaker for me. A deal breaker would be it has gluten, because I don't eat gluten at all, never, ever, ever. But a deal breaker isn't folic acid for me. Now, if I were consuming all the other things I do, like I take magnesium at night, my magnesium doesn't have magnesium stearate. It doesn't have fillers. It doesn't have folic acid. It doesn't have any of that stuff, because guess what? That's available to us. But this particular product that we're both taking, it isn't available in another way. And it is working for people, I promise, who have folic acid sensitivities, or even who have MTHFR. And MTHFR is never alone. You have other things that could be going on, even if you have no MTHFR, and it can behave like MTHFR. So I think the benefit of activating our bodies far outweighs individual ingredient supplementation. And we're so keyed in on, like, we're so focused on as a society on what's the ingredient, because that's what we've been taught to do. What's the ingredient? And I get it. Like, you know, things that had turmeric in the past, I'm like, I can't do it, because turmeric makes me cray cray if I have too much of it. Just like folate can make people nuts, and it can also do nothing. And so I think it's almost safer in some regards to have something that's not as bioavailable. Yes, it's not great for people with MTHFR, but it's not as bioavailable. So it's not going to cause as many issues. It's not going to have as much benefit. And the benefit to reducing weight or reducing blood sugar or reducing inflammation or reducing brain fog and increasing energy and increasing sleep, or however it's manifesting for you when you activate, these receptors in your brain and your gut and whatever, it so far outweighs the cost. So,
I think
for
that's one
me,
of the,
for me.
yeah, no, agree. And I think that that's, a conversation that I hope starts to shift where we stop hyper focusing on one thing. Like I feel like, in the past we've talked about green medicine, and just like modern medicine or Western medicine, traditional medicine focuses on, like different doctors for different things. I feel like that we've now started to do that where we get hyper focused on one ingredient. Like I can't have that because of that, or and that's still we're
Missing the
not
boat,
quite
missing the picture.
we're not quite having the right conversation still.
Yeah. And that'll take time. And this is available for people who are willing to and understand that. And if it's not right for you right now, it's not right for you.
All right. Thank you. I hope this was helpful, you guys.